Hello, friends. In today's session, we are going to talk about how to format a document or how to format a paper. So, oftentimes, you will write a manuscript and then you want to submit it to a journal. But each journal will have its own formatting requirements and they will need you to format it in a specific way. However, for the regular purpose, and when you're writing, it is always a good habit and a good practice to format a paper so that it's easily readable and understandable. And here are just some tips. There are no hard and fast rules, but these are just simple basic tips which will help you format your paper for easy readability and for sharing purposes. In this session, I'm going to talk about the structure of a document, the font that you should use, the spacing which is appropriate, the punctuation marks, some margins, and how to distribute the headings. So that, in a nutshell, is the content of this particular session today. Happy viewing. So basically, we started off by talking how to format a particular paper or a manuscript, after which I spoke what are we going to cover in this particular session. So there's a cover page for every article. We have a heading and the document title, which is placed on the cover. We have the names of the authors, which I generally prefer to write in italics and in a right aligned mode. So let me do a live manuscript and I'll show you how it looks like. So this is the first page or the cover page of the article. The first is the title of the article. The next line has got the names of the authors. So I generally have the names of the authors which are right aligned. It's the surname first and the first name after that, followed by a comma and separating all the others. Then we need to give the author affiliations on the first page itself. Some journals also ask for the author contributions. What were the contributions of each author? Then we have the abstract and the keywords. So everything is part of the cover page, but definitely the name, the title, the names of individuals, the author affiliations, and sometimes the author contributions, but not every time. And we have the abstract and keyword following it. So that's how we develop the cover page of the manuscript. Here, that's the same things that we have written here. The heading and the title, the name of the authors, affiliations, abstract, and keywords. Is the specifically what are the author contributions. So you would need to give in what was the contribution of each author. And there are certain authorship criteria of COPE which need to be followed so that every individual who's listed on this manuscript has confirmed or has done enough to merit authorship. After this, we go on to font. Now, there are two kinds of fonts, and we need to know them so that we are able to choose the right kind of font while writing a manuscript. So if you look at the fonts which I have listed here at the top, if you look at this particular font and if you look at this particular font, so Shivangi, can you tell me, is there a difference that you see between these two fonts that you might be seeing on your screen?
Yeah, there is a difference.
What is the difference
Okay.
specifically?
In the first one, if you can see for the left A, all the lines are of uniform thickness. Whereas if you see
Mm-hmm.
right, the right-handed A, the line is thicker.
Okay,
Whereas
there's a variable thickness in that, correct? The upstroke is lighter and the
yeah,
downstroke is thicker. That's one. What else?
the lines at the
Ananya,
The two lines at the bottom of the A.
what are they called? So are you able to notice these, Shivangi?
yes, yes, sir.
So what are they called? Any idea?
No, sir.
They're called serif. So
All
that's
right.
the serif font. So if you look at this font, That's
Mhm.
also a serif font. When you have these lines at the ends, the small lines, these are the serif. And this is a font which is without the serif. That's
Mm.
why it's called the sans serif font. So when you look at Arial, which is the common font we use, that's a
Mm.
sans serif font. And when we use Times New Roman or Garamond, those are serif fonts. So in a manuscript, usually if you are writing a book, you will always find serif fonts.
Mhm.
Whereas when you are making a presentation on PowerPoint, you will find a sans serif font. So we make the presentations maybe in Arial, but we write books in Times New Roman. So when we are writing the manuscript, I generally prefer my manuscripts to be in Times New Roman font and the tables to be in Arial font. That's the usual standard I follow. Then the next important thing is the size of the font. It's important to have the same size of the font across the manuscript and not change the size of the fonts so that we have different sized letters at different places.
Mhm.
So what are the standard sizes? So if we use Times New Roman, most documents are written in size 12 Times New Roman font. And that's what I prefer my manuscripts to be. And if you are using Arial font for a general manuscript, 10 works good. Whereas if you are putting in a table, then Arial font size probably 8 or 9, depending upon the amount of text you want to place in your table, works best. So when you do the tables, generally use the Arial font, size 8 to 9. There are
Mm.
two important things for every table. These are the heading and the legend. Every table should have a heading, and every table should have a legend. The legend comes below the table, heading comes on top of the table. Generally, I prefer to write my headings in Times New Roman font, italics, underlined, in size 11. That's okay. You can change or use a different style, but then you should have a uniform pattern of using it across your manuscript. The legend always comes below the table. Usually, it's in a much smaller font than the rest of the manuscript so that it can be identified separately from the manuscript. The table legend is usually size 8 times New Roman, and it includes specifically 3 or 4 things, which importantly include the list of abbreviations that you have used in the table. If you have used any stars or symbols, then the descriptions of those symbols appears in the legend of the table. And if there are any other data which have been presented, then it gives a description of why and how you have used this particular data. Next come the figures. Again, each figure needs to have a heading, which can be same as the table heading in terms of the font and structure and style used. And then every figure also has a legend. Again, this legend describes what you have in the figure in a line, and then any other symbols or abbreviations, if they have been used in the figure, are described in the legend of the figure. Next, we talk about the margins. So there should be uniform margins across the document, and 1 inch is a standard default margin unless you have messed it up or changed it. That usually comes as a standard default mode in all documents. We usually take the A4 size paper and not any other size unless you have copied and pasted and it has changed the size, structure, layout of the paper. That's the usual thing. And the alignment of the text, please remember, use justified margins of alignment. So I hope you know what is justification of text.
Yes, sir.
You familiar? That's fine. So I'm not going to explain what is justification. If anyone does not know what is justification, I will demonstrate. But if you do, I don't want to go into that. So text should be justified on the left and the right. So spacing, usually I use a single spacing, but whatever kind of spacing you are using, it should be uniform through the text. Either use double spacing or single spacing or 1.5 spacing or 1.15 spacing. It's fair enough. It does not matter. As long as it's uniform across the manuscript entirely. In the tables, definitely we use only single spacing. In the rest of the text, we can use either 1.15 works well, 1.5 works well. Usse zyada spacing becomes too much spacing and then it starts occupying a lot of space. Then there is a layout option in your Word document. I would prefer that you choose spacing before as 0 and spacing after as 6. If you do that, it gives a convenient space between two paragraphs and allows visually easy demarcation between two different paragraphs, where one is ending and where the other one is starting. So lots of times, this is one huge painful exercise that I need to do, is the spacing around the commas, brackets, and full stops. And so many times there are double spaces between two words. So that's extremely annoying to read when it appears. Most of the people are not able to identify it by visual inspection. But when you get more experienced in this, it starts giving you creeps and problems at the back of your mind when you're reading a document which has been spaced like that. So please remember that when you put a comma, space comes after the comma, not before the comma. Before the comma, there is no space when you are writing running text. It is just next to the word along which it comes. Same is for full stop. There is no space before the full stop, but there is definitely space after the full stop. Please don't forget these. Same happens with brackets. When you are opening brackets, there is no space after the bracket. When you are closing a bracket, there is no space before the bracket. So please remember these general rules of writing. Otherwise, it becomes sometimes very difficult to read through a manuscript. Then it's a good habit and a good exercise to develop an outline of your paper in your mind or on a piece of paper before you start writing, so that when you have a clear outline, you know which are your main headings and which are your subheadings. The main headings should be visible when you are glancing at the paper in the same pattern across the paper, so that if somebody is looking at a paper, they know these are the broad level 1 headings that have been considered. Under this level 1 heading, these are the subheadings, and these ones are the subheadings. So that should become very clear even at a glance without an individual having to go through the details and depths of the paper. So I generally prefer, again, this is very personal. Anybody can use anything, but it is important that your main headings or your level 1 headings stand out in the paper. So these are the main headings usually for a scientific manuscript. These are the 7, and we don't deviate from these. You have the introduction, you have the aims. Generally, the aims will come as the last paragraph of the introduction and are not labeled separately as the heading. So this heading does not usually come, but the aims are included as the last paragraph of the introduction. Then you have the methods, observations, discussion, conclusion, and references. So these in the manuscript should stand out on their own, and nobody needs to search for these particular headings in the paper. They should be evident and visible at first glance. The subheadings are the next. So introduction के नीचे अगर कोई subheading है, so it should appear in a different font, different style, different boldness, different thickness, whatever. It should be appearing as different from the introduction. But all the subheadings across the paper, the level 2 subheadings, should be appearing in the same format. Similarly, level 3 subheadings under the subheading should be following the similar kind of a pattern so that one knows exactly where he is in reading the paper. That's about it. That's all I wanted to say for the formatting part. I will just demonstrate to you one of the manuscripts that I received a little while ago from one of my students. So if you look at this manuscript, it has several issues. Now, one, it has been written in a serif font. It's a sans serif font. Usually we write in the serif fonts. So if you look at this manuscript, it's just a very small or a very small paper. This introduction is written in Calibri 20 size. Calibri is the name of the font that appears here. And the text has been written in Calibri 11 font. So if we were to quickly format this paper, what we need to do is we just have select everything. Now this is another problem. If you look at the introduction, there is a space left before the introduction. So the good way to do this, I mean, if I click control or select everything, I can identify by this blue patch that appears on the left of introduction that the person does not know how to format this paper. So if I see, it has been created by putting space, space, space. So space bar press कर करके ये introduction को left से यहाँ तक खींच कर लाया गया है. So if you are doing this, that's not the best way to do it. So let me select everything to the left of this and delete it. Now, if I want this introduction to appear in the center of the paper, the easiest way to do it is select the space or center text. It automatically goes there. Now, if you see, if I select everything, there is no blue patch on the left of introduction. So I know that this has been done by formatting technique and not by pressing the space bar again and again. That was just that it appeared. Now the font, we will put it into kind of Times New Roman, and we will select the size 12, which is the standard size. That's what we do. We said we want the spacing to be 1.15. That's how you can get it. Then there is a tab called layout up here. Here it says before there is 0 spacing and after there is 7.92 points. So generally 6 works best, and if we do it 6, then we have it appropriately placed. When we are doing the headings, we increase the space after the heading by probably increasing the spacing after heading. That works. This is the level 1 heading according to the author, and we need to have the level 1 headings looking different, or so introduction is the level 1 heading. So the level 1 heading and COVID-19 pandemic impact seems to be the subheading. So it should look different to me from the main heading or the level 1 heading. So if it's a level 2 heading, then I need to write it differently in a different format. So that format could be, let's say, I could just write it in running text. Why do I need to put it in capitals? And we said it can be in size 12, bold, and underlined. If introduction was the level 1 heading, I would have wanted it to be here. Again, not in all capitals. If I do introduction, that's B and underline. If that is underlined, then this definitely would not be underlined. So I can know that introduction was the level 1 heading and COVID-19 pandemic impact was a subheading under the introduction. That's generally it. Then this text is not justified, it's left aligned. So to make it justified, I just need to do Control J if I'm using Windows-based software, or Command J, that makes it justified. So when it's justified, it's aligned on the right side and aligned on the left side. So both sides, it remains aligned. So that's largely in a nutshell, or in a sense, what I would like you to be formatting your papers like. So if you have any questions or thoughts or issues, you can tell me now. Now, if you see here, full stop के बाद कोई space नहीं है. Generally, full stop के बाद हमेशा हम space रखते हैं. Same problem here. So those are issues which I would want you guys to avoid. It will be good in the long run if you do that. So with this, we come to an end of today's session. So in this session, let's have a quick recap of what we did. We talked about the structure of the document. We talked about different kinds of fonts. We talked about spacing issues. We talked about punctuations. We talked about margins, and then finally, distribution of headings. Document is structured into a cover page, which includes the title, the authors, the author affiliations, the author's contact numbers or contact details, and their contributions if you are using that. The cover page is followed by the abstract and keywords, which is followed by the main manuscript, which usually includes introduction, methods, results, discussions, conclusions, and references. Is followed by any acknowledgements if there are for your paper, tables and figures, and if there are any annexures. Next, we talked about the font in today's session, and the font, as I said, could be serif or a sans serif font. The serif font is usually used for publications of papers or books, whereas the sans serif font is usually used for presentations on Microsoft PowerPoint. So we spoke about punctuations, in which we talked about commas, full stops, brackets, and inverted commas. And we spoke how a comma does not have any space preceding it, but always has a space following it. Same for full stops and same for closing brackets. However, when you're doing opening brackets, then there is space before the bracket, but not after the opening bracket. We talked about spacing, in which we spoke that there are no hard and fast rules again, but 1.15 spacing works best. We spoke about margins, the size of margins, usually 1 inch on all sides, and justified margins work best. It's important that the headings are easily identifiable as the main heading, the subheading, or the sub-subheading. And we use a specific font for all the main headings, the same font for all the subheadings, and the same font for subheadings, so that when a reader looks at the manuscript, he's easily able to understand which one are the main headings, which ones are the subheadings, and which ones are the subheadings, which gives them a feel or an idea of where they are in the manuscript. With this, I bid you goodbye till we meet again. Thanks for stopping by.